Hey there everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thanks again for tuning in for another weekly update on news and information about DCS World. I'm your host, of course, Prickly Hedgehog, and as always, I do hope this video finds you well. I mean that most sincerely. From all over the world, we have some really neat viewers. So we're going to talk about the channel in general a little bit here outside of DCS World. We've got a good newsletter for you this week because we've got some decent stuff coming with regards to some new objects in the game, some new tanks, some new ships. We also have some really good news for you VR peeps as well. And of course we have some more news on those clouds, and the changelog this week was pretty extensive as well, especially for the FA-18C, so stick around, we're going to talk about those things. I mentioned, from around the world, just looking at a couple of things. One, the channel hit 5,000 subscribers this week, so I want to shout out to everybody that contributed to that. We had about 400 of you over the last couple of weeks, which has pushed us over that threshold, which was pretty exciting last week. So again, I just want to thank everybody for that. And then looking at all the different people around the world, we've got the majority of our viewers here from the United States, of course, where I'm based, so USA. Thank you to my compatriots here in the States. And also my homeland, of course. That many of you who are tuning in regularly will know that I originally come from New Zealand. We've got people next door from Australia, so Lanky Pilot, I think, might be one of those. So shout out to you, mate. Cheers for all the comments and all the contributions you've made to the channel. Obviously, the UK is a big chunk of people. Lots of people in Europe, and of course we have Asia, the Middle East. So it's quite the smorgasbord of people. So give me a shout out below in the comments from your country. Let me know where you're from, maybe in your native language. As we say, I think we'd say something like this in New Zealand: Kia ora mai tatou, nā mai haere mai. Let's get into the newsletter without further ado and talk about the goodies this week. And we'll start, of course, with, as usual, the housekeeping stuff, which really is good news for the VR peeps. Now, a lot of you in VR was saying, hey, what's going on with the jittering clouds? It's annoying. Not necessarily a degradation issue, some of you pointed out, in terms of performance, but definitely a degradation in visual immersion, because the clouds are jittery and that's not cool. Eagle Dynamics has been working on it. It's a big enough issue that they are hopefully, going to get it fixed soon. They've spent some resources on it. They are pretty confident. They're saying that based on their early tests, they've got some good progress, and again, hopefully, like I said, it will be fixed soon. That's their words, not necessarily mine. So again, stay tuned for more information on that. Now, there's a nice screenshot here with regards to clouds and fog in this particular instance from Edge 2.7, which is their new version of the game right now. Now, remember that the clouds and the other effects that we're going to get with weather are going to be introduced in stages. And we've got a static stage right now where in the mission editor you can basically play around with some different stratas of clouds and do some interesting things. In fact, Juice and I were flying instrument meteorological conditions kind of weather. I think this IMC, I think I have that term correct. I forgot to check my notes or write it down. Anyway, Juice will correct me, I guess, if I'm wrong. He likes to cajole me and push me a little bit to challenge myself when we fly along together. So it's good for me. Anyway, this is not going to be a permanent static thing. Like I said, it's going to be introduced in stages. What they're really building towards is this dynamic weather system. And they're telling us here that they're constantly improving it, and they've also got work to do on the simulation of atmospheric flows, which is a very complex task. They're confident they're making steady progress in it, so stay tuned again for more information on that as well. So they're looking forward to sharing more with us, so that's cool. Now, I mentioned new models. We have some ships, we have some tanks, including the Leopard 2A5. But Eagle Dynamics, did throw up a PDF file. There's a link to it here, which I'll try and find for you. But if you're interested in about their 3D modeling process, that document is available. I haven't looked at it yet just in time. I ran out of time to look at it as well as do the video here. But that is maybe of interest to you and how things work together. And of course, they're very excited about the lighting and reflection technology from objects and surfaces that they have going on right now, which I think many of you will agree is pretty spectacular. And of course, it also means some really interesting things with regards to being able to see aircraft a little bit easier in the environment, and just the general beauty and the general aesthetic improvement that we have right now has really brought the game to life, which, you know, I've talked about this several times, so I won't harp on, but yeah, it's really nice. And again, there's an opportunity for you to talk, or maybe in the comments below, about some of the observations you've made based on what Eagle Dynamics is doing. So it's cool stuff. All right, ships. If I get this right, La Combattante is, I think this was originally, if I did my research correctly, a little bit of brief research, these ships, these little attack ships, were actually a French-German cooperation, and they were originally designed for the German Navy, but then later they were passed on to the Hellenic Navy. They're armed with 4 Harpoon missiles, a 76mm main gun, and a 40mm Bofors gun. The La Combattante, or La Combattante, is basically a little ship that packs a powerful punch. And variants of the class were actually supplied to Iran between 1977 and 81. They were involved in clashes during Operation Praying Mantis in 1988, which saw the Iranian La Combattante 2 class ship Joshan sunk by standard missiles fired from the Oliver Hazard Perry class frigate, the USS Simpson. So a little skirmish there. Maybe that'll be something that Grim Reapers turns into one of their recreation videos. Anyway, I was unaware of that little conflict. Cool stuff. Let me know if you have more information about that. Maybe somebody was even there. Who knows? There's a lot of people that are involved in this game that have former combat experience or involved in the maintenance of aircraft and stuff like that. It's kind of cool to see people talk about areas that they were in that are now maps and things like that. There's some really neat comments from people out there that have had experience out there, and I appreciate it. So again, let me know what you think. Now, small ships, we also have a big ship called the Seawise Giant, which is named appropriately. Formerly the Happy Giant, if I get this name right, I think it's the Yar Viking, and the Nock Nevis Seawise Giant was one of the largest self-powered ships ever made, at over 1,500 feet long, with a loaded displacement of 646,642 long tons. When fully laden, the ship was capable of holding 4.1 million barrels of oil. What a mess if that was to break open, which we're getting to. With a draft of 81 feet, she was actually unable to transit the English Channel, or actually the Suez or Panama canals. And I don't know if maybe somebody knows. Do we have any ships like that now that can't navigate those stretches of water? Because I think a lot of ships are going through the Panama and the Suez for reducing the amount of time in transit and the cost of shipping stuff. So I'm curious to know if we still have ships that big. I hadn't thought about that until now. I'm just reading this. Anyway, back on the 14th of May 1988, a year I remember, whilst carrying a large cargo of Iranian crude oil, she was actually attacked by the Iraqi Air Force, who actually sunk the thing. Gosh, I'm having trouble saying that word. Sunk the thing using parachute bombs. After the Iran-Iraq war ended, the ship was repaired and continued to serve a number of owners until she was actually sold for scrap in 2010. So quite a long career for that ship. So let me take a little sip of beer here. We are enjoying a triple Carmelet, I think it is, a Belgian beer. This is a nice one, I must say. A little wet the whistle here, so excuse me. All right, as I mentioned, tanks, the Leopard 2A5. This is a nice looking tank. Now, it's first produced way back in 1979, a year I also remember, sadly. Not very well, but I do remember it. The Leopard 2 saw various upgrades before entering service as the Leopard 2A5 in 1995. It's powered by a, geez, I didn't realize it was that powerful, 1,479 horsepower diesel engine and capable of 68 km over rough terrain. The Leopard 2 is a formidable main battle tank, or MBT. The Leopard 2A5 can be differentiated from earlier versions by the wedge-shaped applique armor on the front of the turret for additional protection. Armament consists of a Rheinmetall 122 120 millimeter smoothbore L44 main gun and 2 machine guns. Nice looking tank, well known in Europe, of course. There is also an additional Leopard 2A6M, and this was entered into service more recently in 2001 with the German Army. The tank is a variant of this with upgraded mine they're saying projection. Do they mean protection for the hull? It can visually be distinguished from the Leo 2A5 by its longer L55 120mm smoothbore main gun. Leopard 2s have been in service with many countries, including Germany, Turkey, Greece, and the Netherlands. And in 2007, Canada deployed 20 Leopard 2A6M to Afghanistan, taking advantage of the upgraded mine protection. The Leopard 2 line continues to be upgraded and developed today. We also have the Chieftain Mark III. This was actually developed from the Centurion tank, which many of you will be familiar with. The Chieftain was the primary main battle tank of the UK from the 1960s to the 1980s, when it was replaced by the Challenger 1. The heavily sloped frontal armor on the turret increased the effective armor thickness from 120mm to 388mm. The main gun was a 120mm L11A5 rifle gun, with the then unique features of having the gun rounds separate from the charge, which was encased in a combustible fabric bag. This removed the need to store or eject spent shell casings. Pretty cool. The Chieftain saw considerable action in the Iran-Iraq War, with 894 of all variants being delivered to Iran prior to the revolution. Unfortunately, proved somewhat unreliable and prone to failure during battle, and by the end of the war, only 200 remained in service. That's a pretty poor record, unfortunately. Pretty high attrition rate. So yeah, I'm not familiar all that much with that tank. Let me know what you think. I think Britain just recently introduced a new main battle tank, and I forget which one that was, so somebody help me out there. I'm drawing a blank off the top of my head. All right, we also have this little thing, which is the BM-21 Grad. This was developed in the 1960s. It's a Russian multiple launch rocket system, and it saw its combat debut in March 1969 during the Sino-Soviet border conflict. The English translation of Grad is Hail, and it contains 40 122mm rockets that are able to be all fired in as little as 20 seconds. Certainly lives up to its name. So the Grad is currently in service with many nations around the world, including Syria, Iran, Iraq, and of course Russia. Now, also included is as part of this open beta adjustment, is the PT-76 Soviet-like tank, the VAB Mephisto ATGM, the Leopard 2A4 and the 2A4 TRS, the T-155 Fertina and the AA-7 Airfield Fire Truck, the ATZ-5 Ural-based fuel truck, and the 5157A Airfield Generator. So some cool stuff there. Now, mentions here for combined arms. Now, to better support both single-player and multiplayer gameplay, Eagle Dynamics is pleased to inform us that there are new models of the Leopard 2A4 and the Leopard 2A4 TRS, the VAB Mephisto, and the BM-21 Grad are now available, as I said, in open beta. These models will be integrated into DCS combined arms as player-controlled units, which is exciting. So, download the patch, and you can get these new models as soon as they become available. And they're confident that the work that they're doing right now to perfect the clouds and the visuals with their new 3D models, again, is going to help us immerse ourselves in the battlefield. So it's pretty cool stuff. Now, as I mentioned, of course, the patch is pretty extensive this week, so I'm not going to go through it. Suffice it to say, of course, that the F-18 received a lot of attention. Now, the patch's documentation here is too large for me to go through just from a brevity point of view and also an interest point of view. So do check out the individual features of this. Some of this was mentioned recently anyway and some of the stuff has been covered by WAGs, including things like the AGM 84H Slam ER, the small flares now, or smaller flares. So offset waypoints and stuff like that. A lot of changes to radar and air-to-ground features. Again, too many things to mention, but again, just want to draw your attention to that. The F-16 also received some minor fixes, and various other bugs and bits and pieces were adjusted. Some changes to several of the campaigns, Red Flag campaign, the Museum Relic campaign, the Border campaign, so on and so forth. Again, too many things to go through here, but again, just a reference, lots of stuff. And if you're interested in a specific thing that may have been updated, like I said, the F-18, then do have a look at that and double check. So I think this brings us pretty much to the end of this week's video. Once again, I just want to say thank you once more for all the likes and subscribes. It really means a lot, because it's a lot of work to do these videos. And as I said, the channel is growing slowly, and my intention is to continue to bring you as much quality entertainment and information as I can within the parameters of my full-time job and commitments to other things as well. So stay tuned. There is more coming. I have been in a little bit of contact with a third-party developer. I don't want to say too much more because we haven't had a chance to properly connect, but I will be sharing with you some images from that developer. So stay tuned. It's exciting stuff. I'm very excited about the direction that Eagle Dynamics basically has us going in right now. Looking forward, of course, to the Hind. Looking forward to the work that's going to be done on the Mosquito here, which hopefully comes out soon. Of course, we have the Apache coming at the end of the year, and we have some really nifty third-party modules in the game. I've already talked about the T-45C, which I've been playing pretty regularly over the last 2 or 3 weeks. And we had, was it the MiG-17? Was that revealed recently too? By Red Star Simulations. I know Grim Reapers did some work with them recently and talked about that aircraft. So, you know, the third-party stuff is really, really fascinating. I know it's probably actually time I did a third-party developer update and talked about some of the things that are going on with them, because there really is some neat material being produced and ready to insert into this game as it evolves. And that's exciting stuff. So if you're a third-party developer and you want to reach out, do so. I'm happy to do interviews or talk about your product, showcase some of the things. The community is excited about some of these non-ED modules, many of which, of course, like Heat Blur, for example, who's done a nice update with regards to the things that they're working on. You know, many of these modules are pretty slick, and even this T-45, which is a free module, again, it's a pretty decent product, and work is going to continue on that. And I think it's highly beneficial for everybody who wants to fly, you know, as a co-op, in a two-person aircraft, and also for the game in general. So again, all right, let's wrap it up. Once more, thank you again for all the likes and subscribe. Keep it coming, guys. Preppy Hedgehog out for another week. We'll see ya.